I want to go through the 5 worst mistakes that artists make. And I'm going to kind of go in reverse order on this. There are a lot, but these were the ones that really stood out to me because you guys know, as a practicing attorney, these are things that I see day in and day out, and they're mistakes that are very common, but they could be avoided. So I want to mention it so you can keep it in the back of your minds and you can avoid a lot of these common pitfalls, and it will just save you some headache and time and pain. So number 5 on my 5 worst mistakes that artists make: artists give away ownership of their music. Now, you've heard me talk about this before. When it comes to signing, let's say with record labels, that's usually part of the deal. If you sign with a label, the label's going to own your music. And they're going to own the music forever. Most times, you don't even have a right to try to purchase back your masters. And that is something that you need to you decide whether it's worth it for you. I will never villainize record labels. I represent record labels, and sometimes the record label does a really good job for the artist to help to connect them with good producers, to help get them on tours, and to really propel their career to that next level. But you don't know what's going to happen. And that's the one little, piece of caution that I always offer to my artists. I just say, if you are going to sign away your music, which is like your baby, it's your legacy, and you never know what song is going to hit, understand that you are making a bet on the label, and vice versa. The label's betting on you, because if the label's going to invest time and resources and money, well, hopefully it pays off for the label, right? And the label can recoup. But the big part of this, the mistake that I see, is that artists are very eager to give away ownership for nothing. And it usually is just something like this. Brand new record label pops up, sets up a nice, website, has a new Instagram account, and reaches out to an artist and says, hey, I want to sign you. Let's do like a 3-album deal. I want 2 options, but, I don't really have, funds to give you a signing bonus, so there's no upfront payment. And then you ask, all right, well, tell me a little bit about like your company and the other artists that you've represented. And sometimes they don't have that roster built yet. So with a brand new label, it kind of goes both ways. The label has to take a chance and start signing artists because you're waiting to build your roster. But on the flip side, you don't necessarily want to be that guinea pig, right? So as the artist, you don't want to say, yeah, sign me up. Let's just see how this goes. If there's nothing that the label, or more importantly, the label head can say to convince you. So, the way I kind of put it is just remember, you're betting on someone. It's usually either the label head or label representative that's reached out and said, hey, I want to sign you. I think your music's cool. And that's all great. But you need to have meaningful conversations about how it's going to work. You guys are going to be business partners. And so you need to say, all right, this is what I'm going to do as the artist. I'm going to post regularly. I'm going to take the marketing seriously. I'm going to pump out music. I'm going to write all day long. But then, let's hear what the record label has to say. And if, in the instance, and I've heard this as well, in the instance that the label doesn't have anything to say, and there hasn't been more than one conversation, I don't understand why you as the artist are so eager to run to sign that contract. Because you're putting yourself in a really bad position of just going into this room that has no lights, you don't know anything that's in there, and you're just going to walk through because someone said there's something great waiting for you in there. There might not be, and often there isn't. All right, so number 4 on the worst mistakes that artists make. Artists have a tendency of posturing and lying about stuff. Okay, so as an artist, I think that there's a tendency to fake it till you make it, but do it mindfully, okay? So don't be kind of, posing about your numbers and really you're like paying for fake plays, because at the end of the day, all that stuff kind of catches up to you. And don't lie either, right? So don't lie to try to get a gig. Don't lie about, shows that you haven't done. And I understand that there's something that's very attractive to doing that in the beginning of your career because you don't have a lot of things that you can point to. I get that. But you have to just remember that, especially in the music and entertainment business, what goes around comes around. And so many times people that you will meet in this industry will remember you And so you'll be, connecting with them again later on down the road. And if, you got caught in a lie, or they thought you were, being a little extra bolstering in what you were saying, I mean, that's not good. And I've seen this blow back in really bad ways. So, always just be transparent. Be your genuine self, and that will go so much further, especially in an industry where everyone thinks that everyone else is being fake and lying anyway. Number 3 on my worst mistakes that artists make, they don't act professional. You always have to be acting like you have already made it. Not in the instance that it's like, I'm posturing, I'm lying. No, it's in the, I take myself seriously as an artist. That's what I'm trying to get to. If you are a professional, insert whatever it is. If you are a singer, a rapper, you play guitar, you're a producer, you're a music business owner, then conduct yourself like that from the beginning. And that was something that was instilled in me at a very early age, and it helped me a lot. Because right away when I was like 16, I just was like, no, I'm super professional. We're going to do this the right way. We're going to have clear agreements. And, I think my mom probably instilled that in me, but it's a really good rule of thumb because it helps to set the standard of how other people are going to treat you, right? You're setting kind of the standard for yourself. So if you aren't acting super professional, if you're not communicating well, you're not responding to emails, then, that's probably what you can expect to receive in return. But also it just helps to set the expectation of what you can expect working with other people. Because sometimes when you're working with other people, you don't get professionalism. And so you'll find that you have to set kind of that standard for yourself, and then you'll figure out as you go along and you build your team what you're willing to put up with, basically. All right, number 2 on worst mistakes that artists make, they pick the wrong partner. Now, when I say partner, I mean this very broadly. Okay, so a partner could be something as simple as your mom. Whoever that person is who's by your side, who wants to see you succeed, make sure that as a long-term kind of play, you pay attention to that relationship, because sometimes we get just locked into these relationships early on for convenience, or because someone was there in the beginning for a while, but then maybe the relationship starts to deteriorate. And that person becomes someone that hampers your career and hampers your progress. And that could show itself in so many ways. Maybe someone now is just, causing issues, causing drama because they're kind of like a drama person. And while that was okay early in the relationship, now you are a professional, right? You conduct yourself in a good way. You're transparent. You're authentic. But then every time you go to a meeting, you got someone with you who's kind of running their mouth, and that's hurting your image. There are things like that come up, or maybe someone's being a little quick with the cash. Money's being spent. Money's not being accounted for. I mean, there's all kinds of issues that come up. And then there's literal partners where you guys decide to start your record label, or you decide to start your other music business venture together. And now you really are in the weeds. Who's doing the accounting? Who's having the meeting? Who's taking the meeting minutes? And so your life is going to get so much harder or so much easier based on who you decide is going to be your partner. And I say that just because, sometimes it's time to move on. Sometimes it's time to find someone who's a better fit. And so you always have to be doing kind of an audit of your own circle, because the people that you keep around you are either going to slow you down or they're going to help you with your momentum and to help you keep moving forward. All right, number 1 on my 5 worst mistakes that artists make, they don't have a strong team or attorney. Now, usually I would just position this and say they don't have an attorney, worst thing, and specifically an entertainment attorney. But in the meantime, sometimes if you can't get an attorney right away, it just means that you have your core team. And that might be 2 or 3 people. But what I'm talking about is your group that is there to protect you. Now, at the end of the day, really your team, your manager, your agent, your attorney, all of us are supposed to be working together to make sure that you're protected, you're able to make your art, and that you're not going to get yourself into a really bad deal. Now, the golden standard is you need to have an entertainment attorney as soon as any important contract comes up, period. Doesn't matter if you need to borrow some money. If you're going to do a deal and sign your name on a piece of paper, you're going to be tied to something for several years in most instances. It's worth going and getting an hour or 2 of an attorney's bill to pay to make sure that you are absolutely protected. But then also when it comes to the team that you make, this kind of goes back to that last tip. Make sure you build a powerhouse team around you, people who are efficient, people who are competent. Because every time someone trips, you guys got to help each other. But the more that your team is tripping, the more your team is slowing you down. So those are my 5 worst mistakes that artists make. It was kind of on my mind, so I hope you guys find that helpful. And then also, I did mention, if you go to topmusicattorney.com, you have that free course. It's a free video course where I'm teaching you about contracts. So go through it. Learn about contracts. Learn how to protect yourself. And I give you some of my best tips being a real-life attorney that deals with this stuff every day.